Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to share with you a rather unique find, as this is only the third object that is a pocket watch, which is related to this partnership that I have documented. And this is a partnership of Yersin Montandon à Paris. So I recently did a video about 3 of their mantle clocks. And if you haven't seen that video, please go back and watch that video for a little bit of reference about the history of this partnership. However, we do have a movement, and this is dating. This is a key set and key wind Verge fusée movement. This is only the movement. The case has not come down through history to us. But I did want to document this really rare piece because there's only 3 objects that are pocket watches by this partnership that have been documented. One of these is at the Louvre in Paris, and it is not in the public section. This is in their retained in their collection. However, it is not on public display. The second, which is the oldest of these watches, is in my collection. This is a silver quantium. Now, we do not know what the case material for this piece was. Was it gold, silver? This is not clear. Now, this could have disappeared for a number of reasons, but we just don't know. Now, there is some backstory to this piece. This piece was acquired from the UK, and I would like to thank Alan, a really nice guy, who was very helpful about sharing some of the backstory of this piece. This piece had been in his possession for many years, and before him, this was for decades in the possession of a French collector. Therefore, this obviously has a French origin, and clearly it was made in Paris. But we do have this object. It is from the 1780s, and this in my entire collection, I have only 3 18th century objects. There are the 2 Yersin Montandon. One is a complete watch, and the other is this movement. And then the third is a cadran or dial by the other of the older partnerships of these Montandon watchmakers. This is Eighteenth-century of Clermont. So this is Balthazar Montandon. And here we're speaking of David Montandon, who was located in Paris. But clearly we're dealing with the 1780s in this. However, I wanted to point out a little bit about some of the peculiarities that may help us to date this. Now, this is in the backdrop of the last years of the reign of Louis XVI. So this is in the Ancien Regime, and this is pre-French Revolution. And after the French Revolution occurred, we do not have a precise timeline whether Yersin and Montandon continued their watchmaking. And we do know that Yersin went back to Switzerland. With David, he probably also did. There are very, the record is unclear. There may be a passport by his name which we see for David Francois Montandon from 1808. However, this is not 100%. This is a supposition. But when we analyze, and we have very little to go by, but we do have this roughly 1780, 1790 period. And a lot of the architectural hints or clues are missing because of the case, the fact that the case is missing. But we do have this porcelain dial, and or could be enamel actually. But this variety was very popular during that time of movement. However, there are various techniques that we can still use. Now, sadly, with this dial, we have no serial number associated. And indeed, I did go to a watchmaker with this, and we removed the dial. Unfortunately, on the back side of the dial, there was no serial number indicated. And indeed, on the side facing the dial, there was no serial number present. There is a scrawling or etching on the surface of the movement itself, and this is apparently later done by perhaps a watchmaker who was servicing this. And this is not exactly clear. It looks like a 442 or a 1442. This may be a servicing related dating or something of this variety. There is also the remote possibility that this could have been a case number which was transferred to the movement, as generally these movements are not the subject of watchmakers dating. It's usually on the case somewhere. However, so this is not clear. But there are subtle dating techniques that one can use with what we have here. And with these fusée movements, if one analyzes very closely the pillars which support the two plates, at the beginning of the 18th century, these were very elaborate, these Egyptian-style pillars. And indeed, this topic was discussed in the National Watch Clock Collectors Association in the U.S. back in 2016. And they have a tendency, there's an evolution, and they start with these rather ornate Egyptian-style pillars, and then they end with a very cylindrical shape. However, before this cylindrical shape, this very basic column is achieved towards the end of the century, there is almost a sloping, or not quite pear shape, but something along this variety, cone, and in the oldest of these Montandon watches, which I have documented, it has this particularly, or specifically this shape, and this piece is merely a cylinder. Therefore, my suggestion here for dating is that this may be towards the latter end of that decade, that this may be closer to 1790. Therefore, this is not the oldest piece, most likely, but this is sort of the dating material that we have to work with. Now, at some point, I may totally disassemble this, or have this totally disassembled and analyze from all angles all of the inside materials, but I did look at this under a microscope, and even towards the edges, the only thing that one can see, there is a triangle symbol underneath one of the plates, which is visible. But apart from that, there are no clues. And in general, these movements were not having serial numbers. That it was hoped that this would be on the reverse side of the dial, but it was not. It was a very clean dial, which had, as if it had almost never seen the light of day. So very, very nicely preserved. And this movement did come without watch hands. There is some slight damage to the winding hole that we find on the face. This is a very French style of winding, that one would have been able to open the glass, wind, and close it back. And this is a French style which is on the face. As English Verge, fusée, or spindle watches tend to have the winding behind on the other side. But we have this very intriguing, really rare piece, and I was surprised to even see this materialized for sale. I was amazed. This is so rare. This object is so rare. I had never expected to find another Yersin Montandon watch or watch part. Now, with the other partnership that I spoke of, that date from this 1790s in France, this is eighteenth-et-Montandon à Clermont. This is Clermont-Ferrand present. There are 3 watch objects documented with that partnership, and they are a silver revolutionary watch from 1794, and this was specifically made in the decimal system. It has a subdial, which is a decimal subdial, and it's made for a competition, which was suggested by a mathematician, Jacobin revolutionary, this citoyen Gilbert Rome. There is a gold watch by that partnership, which was sold at auction perhaps 1 to 2 years ago. And then there is the cadran in my collection. So we have the two oldest of the known Montandon watchmaker associations, 3 pocket watches in each. And with Ulfan and Montandon, now after Ulfan's death, Balthasar, or at least while he was quite old, Balthasar seems to have been making clocks independently, as we do find one clock that is signed Montandon à Clermont, and this is dating to the very first decade for sure of the 19th century, approximately the time of the Battle of Trafalgar, roughly, if we should say 1805. And it is sort of this directorate style clock. But with the Yersin and Montandon partnership, we do find the 3 mantle clocks. But this is a hyper rare object. I did want to present it to you, as there are so few of these, and it is incumbent to spread the awareness of this brand, as they were rather privileged to be operating in Paris. Indeed, both Yersin and Montandon would have had to pay a tax essentially to the royal government, to the administration of the king. Now, when David Montandon did this was in 1770. He was part of a group of 40 watchmakers that an exception was made, and he paid this fee, and he was allowed to operate as a watchmaker in Paris. Now, Yersin received his mastery in 1778, and I assume that he was part of the same process, that they were making these exceptions. The government was very, the finances were very feeble, and they were attempting to generate revenue from various taxes. This was one of the ways that they did that. And the watchmaking community of Paris essentially footed the bill for the royal court. So we have this very interesting watchmaking duo of Yersin and Montandon, and it should be remembered, this is prior to the partnership with Yersin, that David Montandon was actually he was a avid hunter. We do find permission in Switzerland by his brother, who was a pastor or a preacher in the local community of the Val de Travers. We find a permission for hunting there, and it is assumed that all of him with his brothers, there were several brothers. I believe there were at least 4 brothers, and they probably were all hunting together. Now David in 1776 was hunting in the grounds Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which is outside of Versailles. This was the royal hunting grounds, and on Sundays merchants and various trades and guilds individuals could pay the court to hunt on these royal hunting grounds. And David and his then apprentice, Lacote, were hunting, and this was in September 1776, and a death occurred, and both David and his apprentice were taken away to prison for questioning as suspects in this would-be murder. So it appears that these charges were quashed in some way or another, whether it was determined to be an accident or the culpable party was found. Needless to state the fact that both of David's daughters were born after this, and the apprentice appears within a month or two as a witness at a wedding. So apparently they were fairly quickly released from this. Now, the apprentice was the son of the general that was in charge of the hunting grounds for King Louis XV. So there's always the shadow of, did this apprentice's father use his power to quash these charges? There's really not enough information to suggest that, although it is tempting to consider that as a possibility. And there were two of these officials that were these generals, so-called generals with the title. One was the general of the hunt, and the other was the general of the forest, or the wood, the keeping the forest. And it was this forest keeper who essentially arrested them, and perhaps then when the father of the apprentice, who was the general of the hunt, came into play, then there was a little bit more careful attention to this whole, what the evidence was, and it was most likely circumstantial evidence, as the boy who was killed was a 16-year-old who was hired to beat on the bushes to scare out the pheasants and the rabbits, the game, for their party, the party that was financed by David Montandon, as he was the senior in that party. One of his clients, a business associate, was also present, and obviously the apprentice himself. But this is just a short dive into this very rare object. I wanted to share it with you. This is extremely important for dating. If anybody has any experience with such rare pieces, I would love to hear this. If you've ever seen any of these old partnerships, I would love to hear them. And what are your experiences with these Verge movements? This is very interesting. This has a chain which is pulled down the verge. This affects the power on the mainspring, which operates the watch power. And these chains are extremely small links. They are extremely difficult. They must be handmade nowadays, and there are only a handful of individuals who really do this. So this is a master trade, if anybody who knows how to make such change. This movement is functioning. This is a functioning movement, I should add, which is rather rare with these older pieces, but this functioning, it works rather nicely. So, but I wanted to thank you for your attention, and I hope that this has been illuminating. And if you have any feedback, please share it. I would love to hear from you. But it's just adieu from me, and I hope you have a very nice weekend. Bye-bye.